Starting off at number 30, I have the Texas Rangers selecting Tommy White out of LSU, one of the better bats in this draft. Not going to give you much defensively, going to be more of a first baseman designated hitter, but that's not a bad thing considering how good his bat is. Makes a ton of contact, barely swings and misses, gives you a ton of power, good plate discipline. Tommy White, one of the more polished hitters in this draft. Taking a look at his numbers last year, hit .330 with a .401 on base with a .638 slugging, 24 home runs. Now, the Texas Rangers, they've leaned more into the college ranks in recent years. I see them sticking with that here. They take Tommy White, a great bat out of LSU. At number 29, I have the Arizona Diamondbacks selecting Brody Breck out of Iowa. The name of the game with Brody Breck is the lethal combination of the fastball and the slider. As you can see below me, they're both graded at a 70. That is disgusting. The guy's got tons of velocity, has a wicked slider to go along with it. Also has a splitter, hasn't thrown it all that much, but it does have a lot of potential. The problem with Brody Breck is there is some reliever risk here. As you can see, the control is at a 40 as of right now. And when you take a look at his numbers from last year, did have a 3.33 ERA and did almost have 15 strikeouts per nine. But as you can see, 5.6 walks per nine. That is something that's going to have to be cleaned up. So like I said, there is some reliever risk here, but the stuff is off the charts with Brody Breck. If you can put it all together, this would be a great pick for the Arizona Diamondbacks. At number 28, I have the Houston Astros selecting third baseman Billy Amick out of Tennessee. Billy Amick was a big part of the College World Series champion Tennessee Volunteers, a very good hitter. As you can see below me, has a 55 hit, a 55 power, has power to all fields, can get a bit aggressive at the plate. That can turn into some strikeouts and not enough walks, but either way, he makes consistent hard contact. And taking a look at his numbers for last year, hit .307 with a .389 on base, a .645 slugging, 23 home runs. Maybe Billy Amick can be the next third baseman for the Houston Astros down the road. At number 27, I have the Philadelphia Phillies selecting catcher Caleb Lomavita out of the University of California. I had Caleb Lomavita going to the Phillies in mock draft 1.0. I'm going to stick with that here. This is a very athletic catcher with some pop. As you can see here, a 50 hit, 55 power. Could use some refinement with his approach at the plate. Tends to get a bit aggressive, but has some good power there. He can definitely launch some balls over the fence. And when you take a look at the catching, has a 55 arm, a 50 feel, but it continues to improve the more experience he gets back there. Had himself a pretty decent season at the plate for California this past season. Hit .322, .395 on base, a .586 slugging, 15 home runs. And hey, JT Realmuto not getting any younger. This could be your catcher of the future. At number 26, I have the New York Yankees selecting switch pitcher Jurangelo Zencha out of Mississippi State. Remember years back when the Yankees selected Pat Venditti in the draft? Well, here we go, the next ambidextrous pitcher. He can throw with both arms. Going to be more of a starter from the right side. Has three pitches there, a plus fastball, decent slider, and a changeup to go along with it. From the left side, going to be more of a reliever. Not as much velocity, has a 50 fastball, but has a pretty good slider as a reliever. Now, taking a look at the numbers last year of Mississippi State, his first year was not very good. Had an ERA of 8.10, but he was much improved this past season. ERA at a 3.67, 3 walks per nine, 11 strikeouts per nine. Like I said, one of the more fun prospects in this entire thing. Gets comparisons to Marcus Stroman from the right side. You're going to see a guy that throws more in the mid-90s. He can top out at around 98 miles per hour. Now, I think this is going to be really fun if he can make it to the major leagues one day. Could you imagine throws like 7 shutout innings, and then he comes in the next day as a lefty from the bullpen? Are you kidding me? I need that in my life. I can see the Yankees making a fun pick like this. At number 25, I have the San Diego Padres selecting right-handed pitcher William Schmidt out of Catholic High School in Louisiana. Now, as of right now, William Schmidt is ranked number 12 on MLB Pipeline, but you're getting some other high school pitchers getting more helium than him, and I think the reason is because he only has 2 pitches. While they are 2 great pitches, has a 60 fastball and one of the best curveballs in this entire draft, graded at a 70, he only has a 50 changeup to go along with it, while some of these other guys like Cam Caminiti, Cash Mayfield, even Ryan Sloan, they have more pitches as of right now. And when it comes to William Schmidt's delivery, there is a bit of effort in it, while the other guys they have more repeatable, less effort deliveries. So I think William Schmidt could fall down in this draft. But I think for the Padres, who have picked high school pitchers in the past, Mackenzie Gore, Ryan Weathers, Dylan Lesko a couple of years ago, I think this could be a pretty good fit. Like I said, the curveball is the name of the game with William Schmidt. Has a lot of drop on it and good velocity to go along with it. The Padres, they've done a great job developing players and developing pitchers in the past. I think this would be a nice surprise for them for Schmidt to fall to 25. At number 24, I have the Atlanta Braves selecting right-handed pitcher Ryan Sloan out of York High School in Illinois. Speaking of Ryan Sloan, we stick with the high school pitchers here, and the Braves, they are definitely used to drafting high school pitchers. They've been drafting high school pitchers every single year for the last several years now, and I think they stick with it here, and this is a good pitcher to add to your system. Has a 60 fastball, a 60 changeup to go along with it, and a 55 slider, so that's 3 at least above average pitches, with 2 of them being plus pitches. Has good control as well. I think overall the Braves, they've done great selecting high school pitchers. I think they stick with that trend. At number 23, I have the LA Dodgers selecting left-handed pitcher Cash Mayfield out of Elk City High School in Oklahoma. We continue with the high school pitchers here, and Cash Mayfield has probably been getting the most helium out of all of the high school pitchers. Taking a look here, he's got 3 pitches he works with from the left side, a 55 fastball and a 60 changeup, 50 curveball on MLB Pipeline. I've seen higher grades elsewhere, but Cash Mayfield, the big thing with him, he throws a ton of strikes. 55 on the control. The Dodgers, they've done such a great job at developing pitching. They took Maddox Bruns just a couple of years ago out of high school, so they're comfortable taking high school pitchers. I think this would be a great fit overall. At number 22, I have the Baltimore Orioles selecting shortstop Kellen Lindsey out of Hardy High School in Florida. The Orioles have taken so many college players over recent years, but with where the Orioles are now competitively, I think it makes some sense for them to add a high upside player like Kellen Lindsey, someone that's further away, someone they can develop over the next several years. And taking a look at the grades, there's a lot of upside here. Has a 55 hit and a lot of athleticism. As you can see, a 75 run tool. Was a football player in high school, but now he's focusing solely on baseball. And considering he already has a 55 hit and he hasn't been focusing solely on baseball for so long, that's pretty impressive if you ask me. The plate discipline is already excellent with him. He makes repeated contact, not a lot of hard contact as of right now, more line drives at this point. Not really a power guy right now, but because of the athleticism, I think he can definitely fill into that 6'2" frame even more down the road, add some power. Now with the fielding, as you can see, it's a 50 field and a 50 arm, and but the more he develops and with the athleticism that he has, he can end up being a very well-rounded shortstop down the road. At number 21, I have the Minnesota Twins selecting infielder Theo Gillen out of Westlake High School in Texas. So like I said, you got Bryce Rayner, Connor Griffin, and right after them, most people would probably say Theo Gillen, but I think he's being very underrated in this draft. Taking a look at the grades, you got a 60 hit already with a 60 run. The fact that he already has an advanced approach at the plate, makes a lot of contact, and has a lot of athleticism, and has a 55 power to go along with it, you're already looking at a possible special player down the road. Now, the one thing that holds him back is the arm. He had shoulder surgery in high school, so that's diminished the arm strength. But that reminds me a little bit of Nick York when the Red Sox took him back in 2020. He also had shoulder surgery when he was in high school, but the Red Sox weren't afraid of it. And look what Nick York's doing in the Red Sox system as of right now. I think you could see even better from someone like Theo Gillen, who has more athleticism than Nick York. I think there's a lot of upside to be tapped into, even if he ends up just playing second base down the road, or maybe even gets back to playing some shortstop. Either way, I think this would be a great pick for the Twins. They've gone with some high school players recently. They took Walker Jenkins last year out of high school with their first round pick. I think this would be a great pick for them at number 21. At number 20 of the Toronto Blue Jays selecting catcher Walker Yannick out of Sam Houston State. You know what the Toronto Blue Jays need? They need a catcher in their system that's close to Major League ready. If we take a look at their top 30 prospects, their only catcher in their top 30 is Franklin Rojas, and he's in rookie ball right now at 17 years old. Now, I know a lot of people say, no, you don't draft for need, but I think this is a situation where you can still pick one of the best available players while also filling an organizational need. There's a lot to like here. Now, as you can see, has a 50 hit and a 50 power. We'll get to the offense in just a second, but already has a very good arm, throws out a lot of runners, pretty decent behind the plate as well with his defense, with his receiving, and his framing. Scouts say it could be a little bit better, but I could see that getting better as he gets into a major league organization. Now, when it comes to the offense, he made a lot of improvements this past year. The plate discipline was a bit of a question with him in recent years, but he's cleaned that up a lot this past season at Sam Houston. Hit 364, 476 on base, the 709 .209 slugging. As you can see here, the walk rate definitely increased this past year. 40 walks over the 58 games. That's much higher than it was in previous years. So at number 19 of the New York Mets, selecting Seaver King out of Wake Forest. There's a lot to like with Seaver King. Very athletic player. As you can see below me, has a 65 run tool and a 55 field. He can play a bunch of different positions. He can play outfield, third base, second base, shortstop, you name it. Also makes a lot of contact with the bat. As you can see, has a 55 hit tool, makes contact for days. Sometimes that can come back to bite him. Tries to be too aggressive at the plate to where he makes weak contact at times, so he needs to work on that plate discipline. I can see the Mets working with him on that. As for the power, not a lot of power at this point. Has added some weight and strength in the last couple of years, so you could see maybe a 20 home run per season kind of a guy. Does also have very good bat speed, quick hands, so I think Seaver King could end up being a really solid player down the road. I think just the athleticism alone gives him that floor as well as that versatility. So I think at minimum you could see, simply a utility kind of a guy with Seaver King. But either way, I think this is really good value for the Mets if he falls to them at number 19. At number 18, I have the Tampa Bay Rays selecting outfielder Ryan Waldschmidt out of Kentucky. Now, Ryan Waldschmidt is a name that's been gaining a lot of helium as of late. Played really well for Kentucky this past year, who made it pretty far into the College World Series. But Ryan Waldschmidt, the calling card with him is a really solid bat, along with some athleticism to go along with it. Has a 55 hit, a 55 power, and a 55 run. Now, Ryan Waldschmidt has had some of the best exit velocities in the country this year. Scouts love the advanced metrics with this guy. Makes consistent hard contact, has good plate discipline to go along with it too. So a very good advanced hitter to add to your system. But like I said, also has the athleticism to go along with it. What holds him back as of right now is the arm strength and the fielding. Not the most efficient fielder out there and doesn't have the best arm, but some scouts think because of his speed, he could end up being a center fielder down the road, a higher value position in Major League Baseball. So Ryan Waldschmidt, I would not be surprised to actually see him go a little bit higher than this pick, but the Rays, they like their advanced analytics. I could see them being all over this guy if he ends up here, but like I said, wouldn't be surprised to see him go maybe a couple of picks higher. So with Ryan Waldschmidt this past year at Kentucky, played 59 games, hit 333, a 469 on base, a 610 slugging, had 14 home runs and 25 stolen bases. So this could end up being a pretty good all-around, possibly center fielder down the road. I think you should definitely pay attention to Waldschmidt in this draft. At number 17 of the Milwaukee Brewers, selecting third baseman Cam Smith out of Florida State. The raw power is the calling card here with Cam Smith. He's 6'3", over 220 pounds. This guy could absolutely mash down the road. As you can see here, as a 55 hit, he's really improved on the plate discipline at Florida State in the last couple of years. This year, he posted a 488 on-base percentage compared to the 326 in 2023. An absolute monster year out of Cam Smith. Also slugged 654. He struck out way less than last year, and he walked way more than last year. So if he keeps up this much improved plate discipline and keeps adding on that power as he develops, oh boy, this guy could be a monster at the plate. And the Brewers drafting Brock Wilken last year, another guy with power. Could you imagine these two on the corners for the Brewers one day? These guys just absolutely mashing for you. That sounds pretty good if you ask me. He's also a good third baseman, has a very good arm, a 60 grade arm at this point, moves pretty well at third base. I think this would be an awesome addition for the Milwaukee Brewers. At number 16 for the Miami Marlins, I have them selecting outfielder Carson Bench out of Oklahoma State. When it comes to the Marlins, they tend to do better on the pitching side of things. I think they need to add themselves a safe, above average, all-around good player like Carson Bench, who should be a good hitter in the major leagues. Has a 55 hit and a 55 power, makes consistent hard contact, has very good plate discipline. I think he's going to be a really solid hitter in the major leagues. Also very good defensively. As you can see here, has a 60 arm and a 55 field. Not the most speed, can probably play center field occasionally. Probably going to be more of a right fielder down the road. But in the end, I think the Marlins need to add themselves a high floor bat like Carson Bench. I think this would be a great pick for him. At number 15 of the Seattle Mariners, selecting right-handed pitcher Trey Savage out of East Carolina. Now, if you go back to 2018, the Mariners went 3 straight seasons of taking a college pitcher. They went with Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, and Emerson Hancock, and then they started leaning heavily into the high school position players. But in this mock draft, the way it crumbles, they go back to the college pitching, and they get Trey Savage. He falls here in this mock draft. I do think he could go higher than this, but if he does fall to this spot, this would not be a bad pick at all for the Mariners. Trey Savage, big right-handed pitcher, 6'4", 225 pounds, has 4 pitches he plays with, a 60 fastball, not a lot of life on the fastball, but has a lot of carry though, and has a slider and a splitter to go along with it. The splitter, very similar in velocity to the fastball, hard to pick up, and a slider with a lot of bite there, has a decent curveball to go along with it. And with East Carolina last year, he posted some great numbers, over 93 1/3 innings pitched. He had an ERA of 2.03, 14 strikeouts per 9, and 3.1 walks per 9. There is some effort in the delivery. It doesn't prevent him from throwing strikes, though. In the end, I think Savage is just a solid pitching prospect to add to your system. And for Seattle, they're so good with the pitchers, they could probably get this guy to an even higher level. At number 14 of the Chicago Cubs, selecting outfielder James Tibbs out of Florida State. If you're looking for a guy that can absolutely mash, look no further than James Tibbs. As you can see below me, he's got a 60 hit and a 50 power. I actually think Pipeline is underrating the power here just a little bit. I would say it's at least a 55 and probably a plus power tool. So in my opinion, you're getting a plus bat here. Now, taking a look at James Tibbs' numbers from this past season, and you'll see why. Hit 363, a 488 on base, a 777 slugging, 28 home runs, 95 RBIs. The power is definitely there, but he's also very disciplined at the plate, as you can see here with the 488 on base, much better than his previous 2 seasons at Florida State. He had 58 walks this past season compared to 37 strikeouts. He's going to be a very solid bat in the major leagues. Now, what holds Tibbs back a little bit is the defensive profile. He's an outfielder, but not very fast, so probably going to be limited to left field. Probably could play some first base as well, but in the end, the bat is the calling card. I think he would be an amazing fit for the Chicago Cubs. At number 13 of the San Francisco Giants, selecting outfielder Vance Honeycutt out of North Carolina. Here's another surprise in my mock draft, but I have the Giants going with Vance Honeycutt. Now, Vance Honeycutt is a very intriguing draft prospect here. As you can see, has a 60 power with a 65 run, a 60 arm, and a 65 fielding. That's 4 tools that are at least a plus, but the thing that holds back Vance Honeycutt is the hit tool, only at a 40. Why? Because he strikes out a lot, he chases a lot, he swings and misses a lot. So that's one big hole with Vance Honeycutt that holds him back here. But I could see the Giants taking him at number 13 because of the upside that he has. Now, taking a look at his numbers at North Carolina this past season, hit 318, a 410 on base, a 714 slugging, 28 home runs, and 28 stolen bases. And also, the Giants took him in the 20th round a few years ago in the 2021 draft. He ended up going to North Carolina. So there is some familiarity there. They have scouted him a lot in the past. So I think the upside with Vance Honeycutt is real. He just really needs to fix the plate discipline there. And when we take a look at the Giants over the last few years, they rank 5th overall when it comes to walks. So I think the Giants, maybe they could end up having a plan for Vance Honeycutt here, because if they can fix that, you could end up possibly having maybe even a 5-tool player down the road. At number 12, I have the Boston Red Sox selecting left-handed pitcher Hagen Smith out of Arkansas. Back-to-back years where the Red Sox get a birthday gift. Last year, they got Kyle Teal in the first round. Everyone thought he was going to go in the top 10, and somehow, some way, he ended up at number 14. And if they got Hagen Smith, one of the best pitchers in college baseball this past year, at number 12, that would be incredible, especially considering the fact Craig Breslow runs the show now, has an eye for pitching. He's revamped the pitching development within the organization. This would be incredible. Also considering the fact the Red Sox have not had a lot of luck when it comes to developing pitching within their organization. Sure, they've had guys like John Lester, you've had Clay Buchholz, Tanner Houck recently having a good year this year, but Hagen Smith would be an awesome addition to the pitching side of things within this organization. Taking a look at the grades, has a 65 fastball and a 65 slider, really good velocity from the left side, a nasty slider to go along with it, has a splitter, more to kind of change the pace of things. But I think even though he has only a 3-pitch mix as of right now, I think the Red Sox could really get more out of him. Who knows, maybe even add another pitch down the road. The Red Sox, they have shown what they can do with the pitching this year. This would be an incredible pickup. Now, I definitely think Hagen Smith can go in the top 10, but the way I have this mock draft, I have him falling to number 12. At number 11, I have the Detroit Tigers selecting left-handed pitcher Cam Caminiti out of Saguaro High School in Arizona. This reminds me a lot of the Jackson Jobe pick from a few years ago. Why? Because there's been a lot of connections between Cam Caminiti and the Tigers, just like there was with Jackson Jobe and the Tigers back in 2021. It seemed like those two were linked at the hip, and it seems like, according to all the mock drafts out there, the Tigers really like Caminiti. And hey, you know what? You've been developing pitching really well in that organization. Why not just stick to your strengths? This would be a great high school arm to add. Already a 4-pitch mix at 17 years old, a ton of velocity on the fastball, graded at a 60, has a 55 slider and a 55 changeup to go along with it, along with a 50 curveball, throws a good amount of strikes. Again, the Tigers, they develop pitching really well. I think this would be a great add. At number 10 of the Washington Nationals, selecting outfielder Braden Montgomery out of Texas A&M. Braden Montgomery was an absolute monster at the plate last season before going down with an ankle injury in the college postseason, but he had a heck of a year. Take a look at the numbers. Hit .322 with a .454 on base, a .733 slugging, 27 home runs, and 85 RBIs. Taking a look at the grades, as you can see below me, has a 50 hit tool. Might seem a little low. Well, he tends to miss at pitches in the zone. That can be a little worrisome, but I think because of the plate discipline and the power, I mean, like I said, had 27 home runs, but also take a look at the walks, had 53 walks compared to 59 strikeouts last year. That is really good. But I think those two factors overweigh the swing and miss within the zone. And I think if he gets with the right organization, like the Washington Nationals, I think they can get him back on track in that area. And if you take a look over the last 3 years of the Nationals, they're third in contact percentage. So I think this could be a good organization for him. And it's not just the bat, it's the arm. This guy has a massive arm. He's already just a perfect right fielder. You got Dylan Cruz for center field in the future. Here is your future right fielder in Braden Montgomery. At number 9, I have the Pittsburgh Pirates selecting shortstop Bryce Rayner out of Harvard Westlake High School in California. It feels like for a while now, the Pittsburgh Pirates and Bryce Rayner have been connected in mock drafts, and this would be an amazing pickup for them at number 9. When you look at his grades below me, he reminds me a lot of Marcelo Meyer just a few years ago, who's in the Red Sox organization now. A 55 hit and a 60 power, has great plate discipline at the plate already at 18 years old, and he hits to all fields with power. He's going to be a good hitter. Gets a lot of comparisons to Corey Seager. Not a bad comp, if you ask me, but also plays a smooth shortstop. He's got very good athleticism, a 55 run, and has a good arm for shortstop. I think you're just looking at a potential 5-tool player, and if they could get this guy at number 9, that would be incredible. I do think he can go even higher than this. I think he could be a top 5. Maybe the White Sox could take him there, but overall, if he falls here, this would be amazing for the Pirates. At number 8, I have the LA Angels selecting second baseman Christian Moore out of Tennessee. Here's a bit of a surprise, but Christian Moore has been gaining a lot of helium as of late. Had a great season at Tennessee, was excellent in the college postseason, hit for a cycle in the College World Series, the first one since 1956. This guy mashes at the plate, has a 50 hit and a 55 power, has a lot of strength from the right side. Pretty good athlete as well, plays a pretty good second base overall. I just think Christian Moore is a really solid player coming out of this draft. Now, he ranks number 25 on MLB Pipeline, so I could see a lot of people thinking this is a bit of a reach, but I think there's going to be a bit of strategy here with this pick, the way I'm thinking about it as of right now. Now, taking a look at the Angels last year, and actually over the last couple of years, they've been going pretty college heavy. Last year, they took Nolan Schanuel at number 11. He was ranked number 26 overall, but I'm also thinking about the fact that the Angels have another pick at number 74. So I think they think maybe they could get Christian Moore out of a bit of a discount here. You know, considering the helium he's been gaining, maybe they could get him at an underslot deal, use those savings to use towards that number 74 pick. That's just the way I'm thinking. But Christian Moore, if you ended up with him, I think that's a really solid player to get for your organization. Taking a look at his numbers last season, he hit .378 with a .455 on base, a .797 slugging, had 33 home runs. The exit velocity is just so good with this guy, 73 RBIs to go along with it. So yeah, this could be a bit of a reach in a lot of people's eyes, but I think for the Angels, they need to focus on having just a good overall draft. Try to save some money here if you can, and really try to get some more value later on in the draft. At number 7, I have the St. Louis Cardinals selecting first baseman Nick Kurtz out of Wake Forest. If Nick Kurtz is available at number 7, this is an absolute no-brainer for the St. Louis Cardinals. He's so advanced at the plate. Scouts think he's going to get through the minor leagues very quickly. And hey, Paul Goldschmidt, his time is coming up in St. Louis. This could be your next first baseman of the future. And my goodness, imagine having this guy's bat in your lineup for years to come. Oh, this guy has been off the charts at Wake Forest. Take a look at the grades. A 60 hit and a 65 power. Like I said, very advanced at the plate. The plate discipline is off the charts. He controls the strike zone, and he has power to all fields. Hits absolute moonshots. He takes the walks. I mean, this is a complete hitter, if you ask me. Sure, first baseman, pretty low value position, but at the end of the day, the bat is just so good with Nick Kurtz. But at first base, very good defensively. I think he's going to be one of the next best first basemen in Major League Baseball. And just taking a look at the numbers, I mean, look at these numbers. Hit 306 last year, had a 531 on base percentage with a 763 slugging, 22 home runs, 57 RBIs, 61 career home runs at Wake Forest over 164 games. Like I said, this would be a no-brainer for the St. Louis Cardinals. At number 6, I have the Kansas City Royals selecting second baseman J.J. Weatherholt out of West Virginia. The Royals have been pretty funky in the draft the last few years. They've made some reaches on high school players like Frank Mozzicato, Blake Mitchell last year. They went with Gavin Cross out of college a couple of years ago. Here, I think they take one of the best players available, and that's J.J. Weatherholt. Unfortunately, he's had some injuries in the last year. Didn't play a full season this past year at West Virginia, but still, regardless, one of the best hitters coming into this draft, if not the best hitter coming into this draft. I mean, even a little while back, he was considered the number 1 prospect coming into this entire thing. Either way, Weatherholt is going to be one of the better players coming out of this thing. As you can see here, has a 70 hit tool. He can hit to all fields, has amazing plate discipline, and he has a little bit of pop there as well. A 50 power, but still, you could see anywhere from 20 to 30 home runs per season with him. But the bat to ball skills are absolutely amazing, and the fact that he works the counts really well, has great pitch recognition. I think this would be an excellent pick for the Kansas City Royals. This could be their future second baseman to go along with Bobby Witt Jr. at shortstop. Could you imagine those two up the middle? Now, with J.J. Weatherholt, he has tried playing some shortstop. Probably going to be more of a second baseman, right? Bobby Witt Jr., that's the shortstop of the future there. And with J.J. Weatherholt, like, he moves around fine. His range is fine. The arm is fine. I just think he's probably a better fit for second base. Probably just not as good for shortstop there, but not a knock against him. Either way, this guy's going to be a great hitter in the major leagues, in my opinion. And taking a look at his numbers last year, like I said, he did miss some time, only played 36 games. The numbers were down overall across the slash line. Hit 331, 472 on base, a 589 slugging. And I'm saying these numbers are down, but they're still really solid here. I mean, the year that he had in 2023 was just off the charts. He hit 449 with an OPS of 1.304. That is just incredible. Either way, I think the Royals end up with one of the best players in this draft. At number 5, I have the Chicago White Sox selecting Connor Griffin out of Jackson Prep in Mississippi. The name of the game with Connor Griffin is projection. As you can see here, there's a lot of upside with Connor Griffin. Has a 65 run to go along with a 60 power, with a 70 arm, and a 60 field. Scouts think he could either be a Gold Glove center fielder or shortstop. He is that good at both. Very athletic player. Now, the one thing holding back Connor Griffin a little bit as of right now is the hit tool, graded at a 50. There are some timing issues with him at the plate. The swing, in my opinion, can get a little long, but I think if he irons that out, this guy could end up being a 5-tool player, a 5-tool superstar down the road. Hey, the White Sox, they've done pretty well with some high school players in the past. Colson Montgomery's been doing well in their system in the last couple of years. I think Connor Griffin could end up being a superstar for the Chicago White Sox. At number 4, I have the Oakland A's selecting second baseman Travis Bazzana out of Oregon State. What a birthday gift this would be for the A's if they landed the number 1 prospect on MLB pipeline in this draft at number 4, especially considering the fact they're going to be heading to Las Vegas in a few years. This could be their next face of the franchise as they enter into a new era in A's baseball. Travis Bazzana gets a lot of hype, and for good reason. Take a look at the grades here. 60 hit, 60 power, 60 run. An amazing hitter at the plate. Hits with authority. authority to all fields against lefties and righties, has amazing plate discipline as well, and like I said, has pop to go along with it. Very athletic out there. Going to be more of a second baseman, but he'll be a good second baseman. And taking a look at the numbers this past year at Oregon State, my goodness, this guy was off the charts. 60 games, hit .407 with a .568 on base, a .911 slugging, 28 home runs, 66 RBIs, also stole 16 bases as well. This guy is going to be a really good player in the major leagues. I'm very excited to see what he can do. At number 3, of the Colorado Rockies, selecting right-handed pitcher Chase Burns out of Wake Forest. The Rockies have always had trouble trying to get pitchers to come to Coors Field through free agency, so I think the best course of action is do it through the draft. Last year, they picked Chase Dollander in the first round, and I think they should go with Chase Burns here. That would be an amazing back-to-back first rounds, getting some high-octane pitchers for that rotation down the road. And speaking of high-octane, my goodness, Chase Burns is full of it. Has a 4-pitch mix, has a ton of velocity, a 65 fastball with a lot of life, has a wipe-out slider to go along with it. Curveball, also very solid, has a good changeup to go along with it too. Easily, in my opinion, the best pitcher in this draft. There is a bit of effort with his delivery, but the stuff is just there. I mean, my goodness, look at the numbers this guy posted this past year at Wake Forest. He went 10-1, ERA of a 2.70, had 17 strikeouts per 9, under 3 walks per 9. To me, this is a no-brainer. Draft Chase Burns. You'll have Chase Burns and Chase Dollander as a 1-2 punch down the road. That is nasty. At number 2, we have the Cincinnati Reds selecting outfielder Charlie Condon out of the University of Georgia. Pretty good story here with Charlie Condon. He was a walk-on at Georgia, and he's absolutely exploded over the last couple of years. Taking a look at the numbers here, a 60 hit and a 70 power. That's the calling card with Charlie Condon, the raw power. He's so big. He's 6'6". I think he could still even gain a little bit of weight, fill it in that frame a little bit more. But because of the size, because of the strength he has, because of the bat speed, he could miss-hit a ball. Like what could be, what seemed like a routine fly ball could end up leaving the yard. The raw power is real with this guy. He makes consistent, hard contact. I think he could end up being a good power hitter down the road in the major leagues. He could be an impact guy for the Reds down the road. Now, when it comes to the fielding, he's probably going to be more of a corner outfielder, not a whole lot of speed. Because he's so big, he covers a lot of ground. But in the end, because he has a decent arm, he could end up being a pretty solid left fielder or right fielder. But take a look at these numbers last year at Georgia. I mean, my goodness, these are ridiculous. Hit .433, a .556 on base, a slugging of 1.009. No, that is not the OPS. The OPS was 1.565. These numbers are off the charts. 37 home runs, 78 RBIs. I mean, what else is there to say? Charlie Condon, this guy could end up being really good down the road. And at number 1, I have the Cleveland Guardians selecting first baseman Jack Caglianone out of Florida. So I got a few reasons for this pick, so try to follow along with me. But I'm starting to wonder if maybe the Guardians could make Caglianone the number 1 pick in this draft. So earlier, I mentioned the Guardians could be looking to do an underslot deal. A lot of mock drafts out there. They're having J.J. Weatherholt go to the Guardians because that could save them a ton of money. I've seen some with Chase Burns going with the number 1 pick. That could also help them save some money. But I also wonder if Caglianone could save them some money here as well. So taking a look at the slot value for this pick, it's right around $10.5 million. Now, a lot of mocks out there have Caglianone going anywhere from like 3 to 6. Now, if you were to offer him, say, maybe $9.5 to $10 million, that could still save them some money here for some later picks. And if you take a look, they actually have another pick at number 36 in the competitive balance round. So I think you could still get a prolific hitter like Caglianone here while also saving some money at the same time. Of course, Caglianone would have to be, game for something like this. We'll see. But I wonder if maybe they can get both done. Now, Caglianone, this guy had an amazing season at the University of Florida. Take a look at these numbers. Over 66 games, hit .419, a .544 on base, had an .875 slugging. This guy had a home run in 9 straight games at one point 35 home runs, 72 RBIs. He'll go down as one of the best hitters in Gators history. But now with Caglianone, the one thing where if you take a look at the hit tool, he's got a 55 hit. The one thing that seems to go against him is the chase rate. Has a pretty high chase rate, near 40%. Now, that can be a bad thing, but I don't think it has to be, because when you take a look at some of these guys in Major League Baseball, you got guys like Bryce Harper that have a pretty high chase rate. Shohei Ohtani has had high chase rates in the past. Even like Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson, they've been above 30%. Now, Caglianone, I think, is going to have to work on getting that one down a little bit, especially in the major leagues. But I think this is something he could work on getting into a major league organization, especially if he drops the pitching, which he is expected to do, because really, when it came to the pitching, it's not really his strong suit, especially compared to what he can do with the bat. This guy is an absolute monster in the box. He's 6'5", 250 pounds. The exit velocity with this guy is off the charts. And sure, he does chase a lot, but he doesn't strike out a whole lot, and he makes a ton of contact at the same time, which I also think ties into the Guardians here a little bit. So when you take a look here, when it comes to outside swing percentage over the last few years, the Guardians have the 5th highest outside swing percentage. When you take a look here at the contact percentage, Cleveland is number 2 with the 2nd highest contact percentage over the last 3 years. When you take a look at the lowest strikeout percentages, Cleveland is number 2. So if you take a look at Caglianone's profile, where he chases a lot but still makes a lot of contact and doesn't strike out all that much, that fits perfectly into what the Guardians have been doing over the last couple of years. And with the Guardians, if you take a look at the last couple of players they've taken in the first round, you got DeLauder and Ralphie Velasquez. Those are guys with raw power. Well, hey, Jack Caglianone, the raw power is off the charts with this guy. Now, when it comes to, these high draft picks, usually you want to go for those up the middle profiles like shortstops, center fielders, catchers even. Caglianone probably going to be more of a first baseman, but I think with the upside of the bat, I could see a lot of people thinking Spencer Torkelson here, because that was the big thing with him. I think Caglianone is different though, because this guy, like I said, he's just massive. He's a presence in that box from the left side. He could end up being one of the next best sluggers in Major League Baseball. So again, if the Guardians can save some money here while also getting a guy like this, I think it could happen, but it's going to come down to the money at the end of the day. I love the idea as of right now in my head, but that's just my potato brain thinking. What do I know? I don't know anything. But let me know what you think down below in the comments. How do you think this draft is going to shake out? Who do you think is going to be the number 1 pick? Let me know down below in the comments. But everyone, that's all I got for right now. We will be doing another mock draft at some point down the road, so stay tuned for that. But everyone, that's all I got for right now. If you can on the way out, hit that like button for me, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.